Hello and welcome to our Thursday reflections. I went for inspiration to the daily readings as I usually do. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, and I read this. We dealt with each of you as a father deals with his own children, encouraging, comforting, and urging you to live lives worthy of God. And I thought, oh no, not after all the stories that I've told of my hopeless attempts at being a father. But somehow it's sort of turning out okay, despite making all kinds of mistakes along the way, and the lovely relationship we have. But you don't want to hear about me and my children again. So I looked at the reading and I thought long and hard, and I'm going to talk about fairy lights instead. Fairy lights. That's right. We had the turning on of the village green Christmas lights on Saturday, and splendid they look, as they always do. And we've put up our own fairy lights. We've got 3 sets of outside lights, one going round the back garden, and 1 set going across the front of the house, another set going down the front garden. And those of you who know our manse know that it's a long way down to Ford Road itself. But in addition to that, we've got, I think I counted, 17 sets of fairy lights now around the house. I put them all up. My job to switch them all off last thing at night. And it's my job too to do the spiritual warfare of setting them up in the first place. And what I mean by that is that fairy lights must really be important, because the devil tries so hard to thwart any attempts to actually put them up. So the devil gets involved, however carefully you put the lights away after Christmas is over, and he knots them up through the rest of the year somehow or other. And so that the first 20 minutes or so is spent just trying to unknot the blooming things and trying to hopefully find out that they work. But then the other way in which the devil gets involved in fairy lights is, of course, for you to try them out when you just got them out the box and find that they work. And then you spend ages putting them up around the top of the walls of your room. And then when you've finally done that, having done step ladders and goodness knows what else, you switch them on and they don't work. And he had 1 set of lights that's gone in the bin this year. But we've always liked a good set of fairy lights in our household since the kids were small, and probably, though I don't really remember, before that. But the reason that I want to talk about fairy lights today is that I've discovered that they actually originate from the northeast. It's actually the northeast that the country's got to thank for this key part of Christmas now. For fairy lights were invented by a man called Joseph Swan, who perfected the incandescent electric lamp. He was born in Sunderland in 1828 and lived most of his life in Low Fell. But it was at the Savoy Theatre in London that the term fairy lights was first coined. The Savoy opened in 1881, and it was the very first public building in the world to be lit entirely by electricity. It was fitted out with 1,200 of these incandescent light bulbs created by Swan. In 1882, a year later, Swan was commissioned by the theatre's owner, who was called Richard Doyley Cart, to create miniature lights for the dresses of the lead fairies on the opening night of Gilbert and Sullivan's Iolanthe. The dresses were adorned with lights that were powered by small battery packs hidden beneath the folds of the fabric. Hence the phrase, fairy lights. In 1883, a year later, a man called Edward Johnson, who was a colleague of Thomas Edison, who was Swan's US rival, really. He became the first person to put fairy lights on a Christmas tree. It was a bit of a publicity stunt that then became a Christmas tradition. He had 80 red, white and blue lights made and put on his tree, and they were the size of walnuts. Up until then, people used to put candles on their Christmas trees, which is highly dangerous, of course, and there's many an incident recorded of fires in the Christmas season because the candles set fire to the tree. The reason that people put candles on the trees was to symbolise Jesus, the light of the world. So that was in 1883 that Christmas trees first had fairy lights on. By 1900, shops had Christmas lights in their windows as a great draw for the public, but it was too expensive for people's own homes until about the 1930s, when the prices of the lights and electricity came down a little. I wonder how many people realise that when they're putting fairy lights up in their home, they're actually advertising Jesus as the light of the world. I wonder if you do, because that's where the tradition originated. All these lights, however gaudy or bright or all of one colour or multicoloured, they're all representing Jesus, the light of the world. Which curiously takes me back to that reading for today, 1 Thessalonians 2. Not now verses 11 to 12, but verse 10, the one before it. And it just says, you are witnesses. Indeed you are, whether you realise it or not. And I hope and pray that as you go about your shopping and whatever else you do in these next few weeks and you see the fairy lights, you'll remember Jesus, because that is actually what it's all supposed to be.